Hi, class. Today I will be talking about SB 14, which is a child sex trafficking law. To introduce SB 14, SB 14 classifies child sex trafficking of a minor for purposes of a commercial sex act as a serious felony. This law is to be under the Three Strikes Law and imposes harsher penalties and sentencings on individuals convicted of such crimes. Now, the Three Strikes Law, which is those convicted on a third strike, could automatically face 25 years to life in prison. Therefore, child sex trafficking is a very heinous crime and should not be taken lightly by any individual. These crimes cause adolescents to feel alone and scared to speak up. These horrific crimes do long-lasting damage to victims and survivors, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Now, in this paper, I will discuss the pro and con sides of SB 14. And as we can see on the screen, this is a photo of Governor Gavin Newsom of California signing this law or bill. To talk about the pros, SB 14 will allow communities to feel safer and help survivors feel open and safe to seek help and speak up. Now, according to Polaris Project, which is a project dedicated to helping survivors of child sex trafficking show their voices, Aubrey Ailes, a survivor, had just turned 18 and was sent to a faith-based dorm by her mother. She was sent to this dorm due to her behavior, but it wasn't as extreme as you would think for her mother to have sent her away. Now, at this dorm, she met her trafficker, which for 10 years, this trafficker controlled Aubrey's every move, everything she ate, when she ate, where she could go, when she could go, who she could talk to, when she could talk, and so on. Now, at this time, Aubrey did not have a good relationship with law enforcement. This is because they never listened to her plea for help from saving her from her trafficker. So, according to a Governor Gavin Newsom article, first partner Jennifer Sable Newsom stated she has witnessed the pain girls, women, and children, survivors, and communities carry for a lifetime because of sex trafficking. Now, not only does sex trafficking to minors cause really hard childhoods for a lot of minors, including their self-esteem and their ability to make friends, but it causes a lot of detrimental issues for the future when meeting new people or getting a job, such things as so. Now, first partner Jennifer Sable Newsom is very grateful for Senator Grove for aiding in combating human trafficking and ensuring California becomes a safer place. Given so, we can conclude that the point of SB 14 is to make sure California becomes safer and people are well aware that they are not alone. Now, now that a law is being imposed which gives harsher sentencing to traffickers and justice to survivors, individuals and communities will no longer feel alone. They will feel welcomed to trust law enforcement, as well as the resources that aid these victims. Moving on, let's talk about the cons. A con about SB 14 is that, according to ACLU California Action, this law will very much so risk ensnaring victims of human trafficking, including minors ages 15, 16, and 17. Now, because this law will be under the California Three Strikes Law, prosecutors will use that to their advantage, in which they will force trafficking victims to testify against their traffickers. Therefore, as we can all come to the conclusion, a survivor would not want to be in the same room as their trafficker, any which way, no matter the circumstances. So, therefore, we can as well conclude that a survivor would refuse to testify against their trafficker. Now, if they do refuse for safety reasons, they will be able to be sent to prison for decades while their trafficker is free. This possibility is extremely ruinous for victims because they will essentially be forced to relive their abuse and the hardest times of their lives in order to make sure that they don't land in prison, even if they are minors. Now, as we can see with these examples, this law does provide a lot of loopholes for these traffickers to escape accountability. So, according to ACLU California Action, SB 14 will not apply to most trafficking cases. For example, an ACLU article states that in Orange County, a trafficker named Richardson, who trafficked an underage girl, was convicted and sentenced to 8 years in prison. Now, because this law does provide a lot of loopholes, he ended up only serving 4 years, which, as we all could conclude, that would allow him to strike again, whether that be in Orange County or elsewhere, which did happen once he was released, eventually in Kern County. So, to better exemplify this statement, the Orange County District Attorney's Office cut a plea deal dropping the more serious charges related to trafficking minors, which are those under 18 and 16 years of age. In conclusion, SB 14 is making sentencing and penalties towards convicted traffickers a lot harsher. However, SB 14 does allow traffickers to find many loopholes into escaping and serving less time. As we would all think, when these heinous crimes are done, such as traffickers towards minors, we would want justice. We want justice for these survivors. We want them to be able to feel safe and a part of a community that has their back. So considering these pros and cons of SB 14, in my opinion, I believe this is still a great law. I believe so because at least it's a step forward into getting justice for survivors. Although it does provide a lot of loopholes, it's one step forward, and we can't always please everybody in the world. So at least it's a building block to possibly in the future having more sources and more reliability from law enforcement to provide these survivors with reassurance that these traffickers will not strike again. So, not only does this law provide people with more comfort in knowing that the traffickers will have slim chances of striking again, but in all, we will as well be gaining comfortability and the confidence to speak up. And we will know that we are obtaining more trust in communities and law enforcement. This is my references page, and I do have some questions for you guys. One of the first questions I have any of you seen a movie based on sex trafficking of minors, thus leaving you feeling alarmed by it? And have any of you witnessed any type of awareness towards sex trafficking in general before? A third question I have is, do you agree that this law is something good and will bring positivity towards sex trafficking of minors awareness, or do you oppose of that idea? And lastly, do any of you feel that this law will be extremely important in ensuring more secure safety in communities with children and all communities in general? Thanks for listening.